You know that it would be untrue. You know that it would be a lie. If I was to say to you that there is a Doors album that I feel is underrated by Doors fans. And I'm going to show it to you in 1 second. Please be patient. I just want to quickly go through their discography and just my overall little mini review of each album. The Doors debut, one of the greatest debut albums ever. Love this album. Their second album, Strange Days, is awesome. Love this. And the album cover, of course. Now, Waiting for the Sun is the one Doors album that I need to listen to more. I'm starting to think of doing a review and ranking of all of the Doors albums. And I would definitely need to listen to this a few times before giving it a review and ranking. And then The Doors, The Soft Parade, an album I've always loved. Morrison's Hotel is excellent. And The Doors' LA Woman is superb too. So I think for these Doors albums with Jim Morrison, I feel, except for Waiting for the Sun, I feel that is a really strong discography. They have no bad albums as far as I'm concerned. And of course, these are the ones that were released after Jim Morrison passed away. The Doors, Other Voices, and Full Circle. And I've talked about Other Voices more than once throughout the years. I've always really liked the album. I think it's underrated. But the thing is, Full Circle, when I bought this twofer, I'd never heard Full Circle until I got this CD about 5 years ago. And then I kind of ignored it anyway. I was just focusing on Other Voices because I really liked that album. And maybe once every couple of years, I would play a bit of Full Circle and then I would just kind of ignore it. I was really turned off with the first song, which is called Get Up and Dance. You really don't want to hear the Doors doing a dance song. At least I didn't. But I played this album last night along with Other Voices. And I think it's the first time I played it, or maybe the second time in total, I've played it all the way through. And I really, really enjoyed the album. And in fact, I'm starting to think that maybe Full Circle is better than Other Voices. There's just a lot of really good music on this, and there's some humor, like with the song The Mosquito, which was kind of a hit in some places in the world. And I was just really impressed. And it also reminds me of this later album that came out later in the 70s, An American Prayer. I bought this when it came out. Was it 1978, I believe, or around there? And I've always been a fan of this album. Yes, there's a lot of spoken word on it, but there's also a lot of great music, some new music from the other three members of the Doors. And like I said, I really enjoy this album. But getting back to Full Circle, at some point, like I said, I'm going to rank all of the Doors albums, including the ones without Jim Morrison. And I know there's a lot of Doors fans that think they should have not released any albums under the Doors name without Jim Morrison. But the way I look at it, even when this album came out, Other Voices, it was like, they're a band, right? Jim Morrison died. They're all musicians. They want to record and play live and everything. Why can't they continue even under the name The Doors? Because they are The Doors. Doors. It's just that Jim Morrison had passed away. And they could have definitely hired some really good singer, and maybe that could have worked out better for them for these two albums. But I kind of find both albums endearing. There are some good vocals on both albums and some not so good vocals. But I just think they're both underappreciated albums, especially Full Circle. And I think all of us can be kind of music snobs for whatever reason, right? And I was a music snob when it came to Full Circle because of that first song, Get Up and Dance. It's like, oh my God. A song called Get Up and Dance by The Doors just doesn't make any sense. But I'm just more open, I guess, to having a little bit of fun in music, right? I remember a recent interview with John Fogerty, and he was talking about some of his lyrics, for instance, Center Field, and maybe the song being a little cheesy or whatever. And he was saying that he's a cheesy guy. And that's kind of relatable to what some of the cheesy songs that Paul McCartney has recorded. I guess Paul is a cheesy guy. And I guess some of these Doors members are kind of cheesy too. They like to have fun with music. And so I just have a new appreciation for all of the Doors albums. And like I said, I love Other Voices too. Some classic songs on that, like Ship with Sails and Tightrope Ride and Wandering Musician. At the first half of it, I thought it was just okay, but the music in the second half is just excellent. So just a new appreciation for the Doors for everything. And that is it. I would love your thoughts on Full Circle and Other Voices and whatever else in the comments section below. Yeah, and I also love your thoughts on Waiting for the Sun. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.